Welcome to everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in. We're here for today's webinar, The Bug That Never Got Reported. My name is Susie. I'm a member of the marketing team at Sauce Labs. And please bear with me. We'll just run through a couple of reminders for everyone. First of all, I know we're all very familiar with Zoom, but here we are, Zoom webinar. You should see your Zoom webinar control panel at the bottom of your Zoom window. Several of you have already found the chat feature. Please feel free to use that throughout today's session. I do ask that you please use the Q&A feature to submit any questions for our speakers, so we make sure that we are able to keep track of those and get them answered for you. You can send in your questions at any time throughout the session, and we'll answer as many as we can at the end of the webinar. If you have any technical issues, if you need any support during the event, please feel free to contact us in the Zoom chat, or you can send us an email at webinar@saucelabs.com, and we will get you sorted as quickly as possible. And finally, I'd like to remind everyone today's session is being recorded. You'll receive an email in a couple of days with the link to view the recording. We'll also share out a copy of the slide deck for your reference. So with that out of the way, I'm going to turn the mic over to my colleagues Wim Selles and Yair Bar-On for today's conversation about mobile app beta testing. Wim, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, everybody, like Susie already mentioned, welcome, that you've kind of like took the time to listen to Yair and me, and also that you're joining the session here about the bug that never got reported. Before we dive into the details, let's first take a look at the agenda, what we want to cover today. We're going to start with the most important slide today. We're going to tell something about ourselves, about who is Yair and who is Wim. But yeah, no, just kidding. After that, we will take a look into what we mean with the bug that never got reported. And we also will give you some guidelines on how we can help you or how you can help yourself to get that bug that never got reported. But like I mentioned, let's first start with the introductions. And yeah, let me introduce let Yair introduce himself. So Yair, the floor is yours.
So first, I'll just like to mention that it's not that every day that Wim and I wear the same t-shirt. That was just a coincidence. So I'm Yair and I'm TestFairy CEO. TestFairy joined Sauce Labs 7 months ago. We're very excited to be part of the family. I'm a software developer in my background. I've been a QA engineer for a few years. So I have a lot in common with many of the people in the audience. And I have 4 kids and I'm looking to adopt a dog. This is about myself.
Great.
Wim, back to you.
Do you want to adopt a dog, or are your kids, are they the
Maybe
main,
we'll ask for best advice from the audience. What are your best tips and tricks for somebody who's going to adopt a dog very soon? Awesome. We can leave that for later.
Cool. Yeah, and also for the people that might not know me, my name is Wim Selles. I'm a senior solutions architect at Sauce Labs. Been in the industry not that long as Yair, since 2007, but work a little bit longer than Yair at Sauce Labs. I work at Sauce Labs since 2018. I love to work on mobile stuff. I love to work on open source and also JavaScript. So if you have some questions, you can find my GitHub handle there, my Twitter, or my LinkedIn profile. Feel free to connect, and let's see if we can also help you outside of work hours from Sauce Labs. I also, like I mentioned, love to contribute to open source, and you can find some of those packages that are created for testing, for mobile and for web applications, also on my GitHub profile. But enough about us. Let's take a look at this. Let's take a look about the bug that never got reported. And when we were thinking about this session, we thought about, imagine that you and your team are developing a new application. And it's Monday, you've finished everything. You finished all the testing and you're like, let's release it to production. It's a big moment. You release it to production and finally you can go home after working a lot of hours. You go to sleep, and when you wake up, you look at your phone and something is happening. I don't know if you ever had that feeling. Normally when I wake up, first thing I do is check my phone. And if I see a lot of things happening on my phone, and especially this, when social media is exploding, I'm curious, what's happening? And when you then look into it, you see that there's something wrong with your application. There's a bug in production. And you're like, oh my God, what happened there? And then you also see it's a critical bug in production. This also means that if you have paying customers, they might leave you and you feel like the sky is falling down. And especially when you do your research, you figure out that someone within your organization, he or she found that bug, but they never reported that bug. And at that moment, you feel like SpongeBob here. You just or want to go to bed or go away because you feel responsible. But yeah, on the other hand, if you're responsible, you want to fix this. So you don't want to go to bed. And normally, I think maybe people also have heard this in the past that, for example, if you get a bad review also in the App Store, that every time an app receives a bad review, a developer sheds a tear. It's kind of like the same what's happening here. You could cry, but you don't want to cry. You want to fix this. We want to fix that bug. But more importantly, we also want to prevent that this will happen the next time. So first, let's take a look at why that bug was not reported. And I think that Yair has a few examples of this. So maybe you can mention them, Yair.
Absolutely. When we speak to customers and developers that work with TestFairy for many years, we asked them how the process went before they started working with us and what went wrong and what could be improved for the next phase. And one of the most interesting questions that we ask is, why did that end user did not report that bug when they saw it? Because it's a large company. They have 10,000 people working on the beta testing app. We'll talk about that in a minute. And that bug was found. We know from the logs, from the server logs, from the client logs, that this app crashed right at the shopping cart experience when somebody tried to increase the amount or whatever. And the answers that we got were very interesting. Some people said that they were too busy to report that bug in that given moment. Others complained that it takes too much time to report bugs and they don't like to do it. So they try to do that later, or somebody else already reported that bug. So I'm pretty much okay. An answer that we got was, last time I reported a bug, I had to attend a conference call. And I hate conference calls. So I don't want to report bugs anymore. Others said that it was late. They were on their way to bed. I restarted my app. It didn't happen again. And the most beautiful answer is, I forgot. There are so many excuses, so many reasons why not to report a bug. And for that beautiful list of excuses, we need to make sure that it is easy to report a bug. It's not painful. It doesn't take any special effort from the user, and it should take them 3 seconds. That's it. As easy as take your phone, shake it, click on a button, and hit the send button. It takes seconds. And we're going to show you more about that later down the presentation. But what are we looking for when we talk to an end user? When we say report a bug, we want them to explain what they did. It could be a few words. It could be something that is meaningful. I tried to make a purchase and it didn't work. Or I tried to do this and that and I couldn't. We wish if we could get any graphic explanation, like a screenshot or a little sketch or something that explains with an arrow, you see this button is the button that I tried to click and it didn't work. And most importantly, I want them to be able to provide the feedback from within their app. I don't want them to get off context, to go to their email, to their Jira, to their WhatsApp. I want them to feel comfortable. And if they can do it within the app, that will be great. In that case, we want to talk about how to increase the chances that we will get the bug report that we're looking for. It's important to mention that we're not looking for changing anything in the process of developing the product. The product itself should be developed exactly as is. We're trying to look for ways to fit into an existing process that works well for a company, and just improve the steps that we can do around the testing, the beta testing, and looking into the problems before the app is released. So beta testing is about testing an app before it's released, either with a friendly audience in-house, company employees, family and friends, or a subset group of your real customers that are willing to participate in a process that allows you to improve your product. It's important to mention that those people must be your real users or simulate your real users. It couldn't be just people who look for bugs. It's about usage of a product, and they should be willing to cooperate and release their, submit their feedback and help us improve our product. Back to you, Wim.
Yeah. Before we dive more into beta testing and also some other questions that people might have, we first want to ask you a few questions, just 2 questions. So Susie, maybe you can also show the poll, because we're also curious about which stack you are using if you're developing native applications, which stack you are using, and also if you ever used beta testing tools in the past. So we'll give you a few seconds to answer them.
When we say use beta testing in the past, it could be any kind of beta testing. Could be company employees or family and friends, or we just send the app to a small group of people that will use it before we ship it to millions of people or whoever.
Cool. And I think in the meantime, people are already submitting the data. Awesome. Let me already proceed to the next part, because when we're talking about beta testing, you might also wonder, well, for Sauce Labs, you can do automated testing or manual testing at Sauce Labs. How should I see that? And before I dive into that, I want to go back to a meme which I really like. And I think that a lot of people have already seen this one. It's the meme for, let me open it, it's this one, where you basically have user experience in the design, where people thought, let's just create the pavement like this in an angle, straight angle. We hope that people will walk over the pavement. But what will our users do? Well, our users will not walk over their pavement. It's basically the same with beta testing. Our users will, in the end, use our application differently than we thought it would be used. And that is for me kind of like the link also between manual/automated testing and also beta testing. And let's compare those two. And when we're talking about beta, then I think we should also give a different name to automated testing. So let's call that alpha testing. We've got alpha testing and we have beta testing. But what do we mean with that? What is alpha testing and what is beta testing? Well, when we're talking about alpha testing, then see this as the pre-process. It is done by the expert teams of developers and testers. When you're developing your application, you're already writing some automated test cases. But what you 9 out of 10 times see with the alpha testing is that you have a very narrow testing view. You have your design, so you will create your test cases based on the design, or you will create your test cases based on the thoughts of the product owner or basically the company itself, that they think that the application will be used like this. And then last but not least, you also have a limited set of possible configurations. And what I mean with that is different conditions also for your device. With automated testing, if you, for example, use Sauce Labs in the real device cloud, you would have hundreds of different devices, screen sizes, OS versions, but you do not always have the time to run all your test cases. You want to, on all those devices, you want to have that fast feedback. So again, you will narrow your scope a little bit. So that's what we do with alpha testing. And when we talk about the beta testing that Yair also mentioned, then we've got two types of beta testing. We've got a technical and a marketing beta testing, and I will mention that later on. But what will happen there, as mentioned, it is done by real world users, kind of like a beta group or internal users. And the advantage of this is they will execute the beta testing on their phones. So you will get the real user conditions. Maybe they have memory issues on their phone, CPU issues or whatsoever, which could influence your application. 9 out of 10 times with automated testing, you do that in an isolated condition. The phone is always clean, no apps in the background. So you will get that feedback that you want. How will your app work in real production environments? And then I wanted to get back to the two types of beta testing. If you do kind of like the research you would see, you would have a technical beta testing part where you will have more of a focus also on kind of like finding bugs, and also a marketing beta. And with the marketing beta, think about kind of like before you release your app, you would ask the media if they would, if you have a really big app, if they want to look into your app, or you would ask influencers to look into your app. Then the focus will not be in finding technical issues, but more to validate for the last time if the flow that you designed is the right flow to take. Will it really make your application successful? So if we get back to that meme that I mentioned, I altered it a little bit, and then you could see that automated testing / alpha testing is just walking the pavement, and beta testing is basically taking a different route that other users would take, giving you the feedback that you also want based on their experiences. So if we talk about that beta testing, we now know a little bit more about it, but how do you start that here? Can you tell a little bit more about, for example, who should be my audience?
Absolutely. It is critical to have the right audience for a beta testing process. If we'll have an app for pregnant women, we cannot get people to use the app that are not pregnant women. It will not be real usage. We can have our QA team test that app, but it will not be the same. If we have an app for a specific audience, for children, for a specific gender, for a specific sports fan, it will not be the same if we'll give anybody to test an app for football fans. It must be the right people that are using my product. So in that case, we need to think of where we can find those people and what is the easiest way to find like the dog lovers for specific dog walking app or something like that. The first would be to think of how would I find that audience as a marketer? So there is a little bit of marketing as part of the beta testing process. I like to say, if you cannot find 300 dog owners for your dog walking app for beta testing, we have a problem. So let's stop here and talk about our product and about our company and about our vision. I heard that from many startups that I spoke to. I have to say that I didn't hear that a lot from large companies because the vision is a bit different. But I heard that from that entrepreneur who said, how will I find 300 people that will test my app? Let's stop here. Let's talk about your product. So let's assume that we know how to find those people. We can look for them online. If we look for dog owners, there are lots of forums, blogs, Facebook groups. Let's just go to those groups and say, and we can be completely honest, I have an app for dog lovers or dog owners or dog walkers, and I'm about to release this, and I'm looking for people who will be willing to help me test it. Something like that. You can make this as an offering of, and I'll give you a t-shirt in return, or I'll buy you coffee, or something that I really like. I'll make a donation for a dog shelter on your behalf, and we'll donate $10 from every tester, something like that. People like to help, and if it serves their cause and it's interesting, they'll help you test your app. Another option is to work with pure marketing, write a blog post, look for influencers that will help us test our app, social media, or something that we see with many of our enterprise customers use internal workforce. It's called dog food. It's also called drink your own champagne. Lots of examples of companies who company employees help the company test their app. We can share a few case studies after this call. One of the examples I always like to share is Groupon. They have thousands of employees around the world, and Groupon employees that want to buy lunch with their employee discount use the Groupon app with the TestFairy component in that app. So they help the company test the next release on every release before it's being shipped to customers. This helps the R&D iron out bugs faster than ever. So in that case, you need to encourage users to report bugs, and to report back. It's not that anybody will do it just like that. You can tell them that if they help you find the bug, they'll win a t-shirt, or they'll win a title Employee of the Week from the beta testing team, or anything that will occur, or give them a discount on the lunch they order through the company app, like some companies that I know do. If you'll use the company app for the beta testing and order lunch through that app, you'll get 10% discount. Why not? When we talk about company, I'll just mention that it's not always necessary, because the assumption is that if you're a company employee, you want to help your company improve their product. So it's very likely that you would want to report a bug and help the R&D fix the problems. You're about to say something, Wim?
Yeah, because now that you're talking about getting that feedback, also, for example, with the Groupon story, how should a company then process the feedback?
That's a great question, and we hear that a lot. And if you look at the good old days where you write down notes, or then you would take those notes and you would add them to an Excel spreadsheet, or God forbid, you create Jira tickets manually, like we all do every day, all day. That is complicated. It creates a lot of work. If you have thousands of employees in your company that fill in bug reports every day to go over one by one and do something manual, that will create an overhead that you don't want to have. So our best advice is to integrate with your existing flow. If you're working with Jira, connect to Jira. If you're working with Slack, connect to Slack. If you're working with Trello, with Intercom, with Zendesk, whichever you use to manage your information, I will use the word information as general. I don't want to use tickets, issues, bugs. Use that. And we'll show you in a minute how one of our products can integrate to those tools. But whichever product you choose to manage your beta testing process, it must integrate with your existing flow. So you don't need to educate your R&D and product and QA and testing and everybody. Guys, we have a new tool. You need to log in and we'll add credentials via our SSO and so on. No, they're already using Jira. Let's find something that works with what we like.
Yeah, and kind of like in the past, I also got questions from customers like, can I integrate this with emails? And there's just one thing that I wanted to share about that, because 2 weeks ago, I went on vacation. So I basically shut down my email. Last week, I was on a trip, so almost shut down my email. And when I got back, I kind of like had this situation. I had, well, a lot of emails. And basically what I wanted to do was kind of like remove all those. Because imagine that you would have a process, a better process in place without any integration. And the only integration you will have is emails. Imagine that you will have a lot of data also to process. And this is not the best advice that we would give users of beta programs, to use emails, to get all the bugs back through emails. It's better to look into those integrations and to also be able to process that feedback. It's for example, if you would integrate with Jira, for example, you can use tags. You can tag all your issues based on the screen that a user was on, where that specific issue was. You can automatically, this is the one I really like, automatically assign new feedback to your product manager, your product owner, or your scrum master. Not directly to a developer, but basically do it to the people who can find out what has priority. You can do all kinds of things if you use the right integrations. So that would help teams, definitely help the teams to get the bug that really needs to be fixed with the right priority coming from production, and fix it also as soon as possible. So we now talked a lot about kind of like how to get back that bug, but how can you really get back that bug? We talked about a little bit about theory. Let's talk about some beta programs. And I think also you hear that you can also tell something about that, or not?
Yes, there's one logo here that I know really well, and the others I also know really well. First of all, a test flight, we don't need to introduce Apple's platform. It works well and it's a great product. Google has the Play Console that includes lots of components that help mobile developers with Firebase, for example, and lots of tools that are provided by the mobile operators, carriers, players out of the box. But they're missing some functionalities that can be provided by TestFairy, which is the team that I'm part of. What we're going to show you is how TestFairy works and how TestFairy can help you distribute your apps to users in a very easy way that can help you also sync your distribution with your corporate single sign-on like Okta and all the others. And then users will be able to report bugs. Wim, you want to switch to the next slide, or am I still on this?
No, let me just share
we'll talk about the comparison. We'll show you how users can report bugs from their apps. Like you can see on this beautiful video that is just a little slow on my screen, but it's probably very fast on Wim's screen. We'll show how users can report bugs just by shaking their device, sketching on the screen, and hitting the send button. Next slide.
And all done with one hand. So that's
that's how you got this T-shirt of the mobile dude. Can you switch to the next slide? Yeah. So we're going to talk about mobile beta with TestFairy. Our mission is to help mobile teams release better apps faster. That's the bottom line. And if you can iron out all the bugs during the beta testing process in parallel to your automatic testing that is already happening anyhow, that will help you gain more confidence in your product and reduce the risk of finding a bug in production. That's a nightmare for any tech team, to know that a real customer, an end user, find a problem in your app, and it happens to all of us. We need to eliminate those situations and make sure that we find all those problems as early as possible in the process. We'll know those graphs that the earlier you find a bug, it is cheaper. Like a bug at that stage is $100, and then it's $1,000 and $10,000 and $1 million. We want to find it where it's cheap. So we'll talk about app distribution with TestFairy. We'll talk about TestFairy's capability to record users while they're using your product. So you can actually see what happened before something went wrong. And the developers and the team don't need to ask, can you please explain what you did? Or are you sure you clicked here, not there, and so on. We'll show you how users can report bugs from within their apps just by shaking their phone, sketching on the screen, and hit the send button. We'll talk a little bit about crash reporting, and we'll mention Backtrace, our friends that just joined Sauce Labs, which are the best by far crash reporting platform in the market. And they're now one of us, so this is fun. We'll talk about how TestFairy connects to test automation and the real device cloud by Sauce. So you can upload app from TestFairy and just connect your beta testing process and your test automation process as one platform. And we'll talk about remote support. your ability to allow real end users to report bugs from the field. We're not talking about testing anymore at this point of remote support. It's a real user using your product in prod, and they have a problem, and they're talking to support, and support doesn't understand the problem. It happens in every team that I spoke to. And then with TestFairy remote support can tell the customer, would you mind going to the help menu and click on report a bug? The user will click on a button on their help menu. They'll see a disclaimer explaining you're about to be reported for quality assurance purposes. They'll say yes. And support will see what's happening and will be able to create a JIRA ticket in one click. And R&D will see the problem in real time after it got reported, and not a week later when we have a storm in social media. And remote logging is also part of the capabilities to get logs from prod. Wim, next slide. So at this point, we want to play a game. And they always say, don't do live demos and presentations because it never works. But we love taking risks. So this QR code, if you have an Android device, please scan this code now and download the app that is behind this QR code. And we'll play a little game. This app that you have here is a demo app. We can share the code with you. It's an open source app that we built for customers to play with different technologies. And it has a few bugs. The first person who finds that bug, what are the rules? Oh, the first 5 people who report a bug will win a Sauce Labs backpack. It's not that just a t-shirt, it's a backpack. So scan the code, download the APK, try to find a problem in the app. When you find a problem, shake your phone, hit the send button, send the feedback, and we'll look at those feedbacks in a second on my dashboard. Wim, can I share my screen?
I wonder if everybody already had the chance to scan it and to download it before we show the screen.
Will you be surprised to hear that we now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 live sessions with this?
Nice. So,
and
that's really nice. So hopefully everybody, and
my friends using
share my screen. Just go to share my screen. Hopefully everybody, when they scanned the code, they should have got this page, and there's a download button. And in the end, if you download it, just click on install and you should be able to install it. If you're not able to install it, then that might be a security setting on your phone that you need to accept. We will not read data from your phone. It's basically just a simple demo application. I will stop sharing my screen now, and let me stop share mine. You should be able, and I will put the link also in the chat.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, yes.
Wim, did I tell you about that demo that I did with a customer that 20 minutes into the call, they asked me if I'm sharing my screen?
Oh,
Since then,
it's a good
all of
one.
you, if you're running a demo, ask the people, can you see my screen? It's okay to ask it. Just before we dive into the demo, we now see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 live sessions, and already 4 bug reports were reported by friends that are on this call. Product callers won't update. Doesn't change product caller. Great. Let's go and look at that step by step. By the way, Susie, how much time do we have now, just to make sure that we're on time? If you can put it that.
And we can go for about 15 minutes or so here. We're looking good for saving time for Q&A.
Wonderful. This is the TestFairy dashboard. What it allows you to do is manage your mobile apps in one place. By the way, TestFairy supports also distribution for Windows and Mac apps, and soon we will support apps for other gaming platforms, but that's for another discussion. What you see here is all your apps. For every app, you can do multiple actions. First, you can share your app with users. by simply loading that beautiful landing page that you saw a minute ago, allowing you to download the app in just one click. This page can be behind Okta. So Okta, Ping, Google, Microsoft SSO, whichever SSO you're using in your company, in case this is a sensitive app and you want to make sure that only company employees download this app. You can also share this app by email to users. So if I'll hit the envelope button here, I can choose, for example, let's look for the QA group and email the QA group and tell them, can you please download this app? And you can do it without spelling mistakes or with, and send this app. Those invitations were sent, and anybody that will be downloading the app will later on create an event on the dashboard. So we will know that they got the invitation, opened it, downloaded, and we'll be able to create a report of who downloaded which version in case we have multiple versions in our project, which is a very typical case. You release a new version, sometimes a few times a day, and you want to make sure that the right people are using the right product. Back to our dashboard, we can look at all the apps in our account. We can search for those apps by tags. So we can tag an app and say, this is beta and this is demo, and show me only the demo apps. We can create folders and look for apps that are in a specific folder for some reason. It could be a language, operating system, release stage, whichever works best for you. You can upload those apps manually via the UI or just upload them via API directly from your Jenkins, Circle CI, any CI that you're using either on-prem or cloud. There's this view that is more friendly, allowing you to do the exact same actions. And one more interesting thing that you can do here, you can take this app and run it on a real device on the SaaS cloud, real device cloud that you all know really well. I will not get into the SaaS cloud real device right now, but what all of you will probably find familiar is that I will now be able to choose that specific device in RDC to run my app. So my whole app repository is in one place, and I can run my beta testing and connect to my test automation environment. Let's go back to my TestFairy dashboard, and we'll look at session video recording. Here, this is a TestFairy session. What you can see here is what the user did exactly when using your product. You can see where they touched the screen, what was their exact experience. And then if something went wrong, you can fully understand what that user did. This can be the difference between understanding that problem and fixing that bug on time, or burying that Jira ticket saying, we don't understand the problem, let's put it on a lower priority and fix the other bug today because we need to release tomorrow morning. And that bug was a critical bug that was not reported or not reported well. If only we would have a video that shows what the user did before the app crashed or before one of our friendly testers couldn't complete a purchase, that would be amazing. And with a video, you can do that. You can see what the user did. The video comes with a timeline explaining step by step how to reproduce this bug. And I don't know how many of you do test automation, but if you click on a button here, you can also see the view ID and the class name and the content description and the XPath. On iOS, you will see the equivalent fields, and you will be able to fully understand what the user did while using your product. All the logs are uploaded in real time. I mentioned remote logging at the beginning of the call. We have customers who use TestFairy for getting logs from production apps in the field. If you have millions of users and you need logs from those apps, and you need those logs to get to your Sumo Logic or CoreLogix or Logs.io or Splunk or whichever logging system you're using in the company. TestFairy can be the bridge between getting them from mobile into your Splunk in real time, near real time. Now, if somebody wants to report a bug, with TestFairy, all they need to do is shake their device. They can sketch on the screen and hit the send button. It's that easy. You don't need to do anything complicated. And as we said at the beginning, it is critical to make it easy for users to report bugs because we want more bugs to get reported. And we want that bug, that $1 million bug, to get reported before the app is released. If that bug got reported and we connect the TestFairy to Jira, this is an example for a Jira ticket that was opened by TestFairy. It has the screenshot that was sent by the user. It has a video explaining how to reproduce this bug. It's playing in Jira. This is not a mistake. This is Jira plugin. You can see a timeline explaining step-by-step how to reproduce this bug. The timeline also has an option to upload files from your local storage on mobile. You can upload the database. We got requests from developers saying, if only I would have the database, the local database from the mobile app, that would be amazing. We have it. You can upload apps from your local storage on mobile. And one of the beautiful things on this bug report is that you can automatically populate any field in Jira with the right labels. So we know it's an Android 11, my demo app, that's the app name, that's the app version, that's the IP address, and it's a Google Pixel 5. How many of you saw bug reports that had the wrong device name? I can't see the hands, but I assume that many have raised their hands because some of those bugs it was an Android, or it was an Android Pixel, or it was an Android Pixel 4. No, it was an Android Pixel 4 XL. The developer needs to know that it wasn't 4 XL because the size of the screen is different and maybe that meant something. So if we can do that automatically and have software filling those bugs for us and make sure that we know it's an Android 11 on a Google Pixel 3 XL, that would be amazing. So what we showed so far is the ability to distribute your app in a really easy format, allowing you to either send it by email to users or share landing pages that are created automatically. We showed you the way to create video recordings that show you what that user did while using your product. Next, we went on the shake to feedback. We saw that the user can shake their device. I didn't mention, but the shake gesture is configurable. You can have a button click or any other gesture that you want. You don't have to shake the phone. Shaking is not a good fit for every product. Some products are okay with that. Others would prefer to use a button. We had a customer that had mobile apps mounted and for truck drivers, and they said they cannot shake the truck. So you can add a button that will make it easier for you. And those Jira tickets will be created automatically with all the fields that make it flow into your system. Wim, did I forget something?
Yeah, I think, can you go back to the sessions that people made and the bugs that they filed, and let's maybe pick already one who gets it back.
So I'm back on my dashboard, and the TestFairy dashboard has a few sections. What I showed you are the apps. We have here sessions, crashes, and feedbacks. Let's look at the sessions. And I'm looking for sessions that happened in the last 24 hours. And I see, wow, quite a lot of sessions on my demo app version 103, which is the app that we're using. This little green icon here, it says live. So we have quite a few users using the app right now. And we have quite a lot of feedbacks. Let's look for feedbacks from today. we have very good participation. I think that backpack encouragement went well, and I think that we can ask Susie to look for more backpacks than 5. Maybe 5 is too little. The guys here are so helpful. Let's look for a ticket. Let's look for the last one. Somebody says when I click to add 1 item, the cart, it makes it 10 items. This looks like a beautiful problem. I'll open it in Jira. It was reported by a user called Jacob at example.com. As I said, it's an open source app, and we didn't want to have any privacy issues with our privacy guys. So the app automatically generates a username on your behalf. So somebody is using a Huawei device, this exact model, and they're using version 103. That's their usage. Somebody opened this screenshot. They circle out this button and say they click to add this t-shirt. We have a video here showing what that user did. They added a button, they click add to cart, and now they fill in a ticket. And this is their timeline. They opened the bug, scrolled this item, then scrolled another item. There is an accessibility problem here. Somebody is scrolling an item that has no content description or an iOS accessibility identifier or something like that. And then somebody entered this text in their feedback form when I click add one of my accounts. So TestFairy tests itself here and debugging the feedback form. This is actually a bug that was added to the product on purpose. So thank you, Jacob at example.com for finding it. And what we can do is look for more problems. App crashes when choosing bike light option. We can look for sessions that had crashes. Let's look for crashes. Crashes from today. And we have a few crashes. The most popular crash is this one. And there's a Jira ticket that was just opened for this crash. It should probably show the stuck trace. Oh my God, we have a beautiful stuck trace here showing a null pointer exception on this specific scenario. And there's a video explaining what that user did. Oh, they were clicking on this t-shirt here, the Sauce Labs bike light. And quite a few guys saw that. This crash happened 20 times. So we can look for the similar sessions and we can find them. You already understand where this is going. I think that the live demo with real customers was successful.
Yeah, a lot of issues.
Work. Well, you were afraid. I knew that it was going to work. Cool. Back to you.
Yeah, awesome. Can you give me back the screen? And
okay.
I'll start sharing my screen and presentation. It's there. I think this one was also for you here.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about architecture just a little bit. What you see around this cloud are all the tools that any company that we know uses. You don't need to use all of them, but almost every company we talk to has a CI. The most popular, of course, is Jenkins, and there are quite a lot of alternatives. If we're talking about GitLab, that is super popular, and cloud solutions like Circle CI and many others. Any CI that you're working with is great. It will work both with TestFairy and with the Sauce mobile device cloud for automation. The idea is if somebody doesn't know what a CI is, it's the oven where you put all the ingredients of your software product and it builds the cake, which is your software product that is then shipped to customers. So CI stands for continuous integration. And once your app is uploaded, once your app is ready, it's uploaded from your CI to TestFairy. Next step is sending it to users. We will sync with any SAML 0.0 single sign-on. Okta is, of course, the most popular, but many others are great tools that we see in many companies. There's Ping and OneLogin and Oracle and IBM and many other solutions that support SAML 2.0. And then when the app is being used, we can record the sessions and show you what that user did while using your product. And when there's a problem or a bug report, we'll push it to Jira, to Trello, to Slack, to Zendesk, to many other tools that help you manage your information. It is important to mention just one fact. The most popular question that we get is about security. How secure is the information and about sharing and about privacy? So TestFairy can come in various combinations, architectures. The most popular is about running a TestFairy with a remote storage. So we can use your storage, and if you have an S3 buckets for your apps, we can store the apps on your storage, so it's in your control. There's a few variations for that. There's a few packages, not for this call, but security is handled well for many of our financial customers and gaming customers and banks and insurance and pharmaceuticals and many other large corporates. Wim, do you have any question?
No, I think only we got left the do's and don'ts, and then we can go to the questions we have.
So I think that we've discussed many of those things, but it's a great opportunity to repeat that. And that's our best advice for anybody that wants to run a beta testing process. First, make it easy for users to download your apps. It's not, mobile is complicated. People need to install an app, put it on their phone, run it, and then upgrade to the next version and so on. And you want to know who downloaded what, and you want to make that process easy. Use a tool that helps you do that in a comfortable way. Second, make it easy for users to report those bugs. 3 seconds, shake your phone, sketch on the screen, hit the send button. Third, make those bugs meaningful. A video is a very meaningful way to help that developer understand what happened. If not, of course, you can jump on a call with them or a conference call or send them a long email or fill in a Jira ticket. But if you can automatically by software make that bug meaningful, that will help the whole team work better. And last, integrate. Work with your existing workflow. If you're going to add a tool that's going to change the way the team works, that's not going to work. Don't do that. Look for tools that help you continue doing what you like to do and what you're good at, and make that process improved and not changed by integrating other tools into your existing process. These are my tips for the day.
Awesome. I think very useful for people who are going to release new features, or maybe even when they're going to start with a new app. It's something that we see a lot. For example, Flutter comes up now as a new technology. People migrate. I think then beta testing and embedding that into their Flutter app would definitely help them get that feedback early before they move it out to production.
So we have a question here that came in when you were doing your demo, I believe, Yair, asking, does TestFairy only capture the bug when the app is crashed?
That's a great question. It depends on how you implement the TestFairy SDK. You can implement the SDK to record the whole session. And the difference usually is, if you're using it in beta testing, record everything. You don't care. If you're using it in prod, we wouldn't recommend recording live traffic until the user gave you their explicit consent by clicking on the button. So the answer is, in beta testing, yes, everything is recorded. And when there's a crash, we'll have the session recorded. Or if the app if everything went well and nothing happened, we still have a recording of that session. It all depends on how you integrate the app. We have lots of use cases for that, we can help you with that later on.
Great. We had a question submitted earlier when I think we were first talking about beta testing and ways to elicit feedback from end users. Alphonse was asking if this requires crowdsourced testing. Is this a crowdsourced testing separate from the beta testing practices you were talking about, or are there similarities there?
We have customers who use TestFairy with crowdsourced testings. We need to remember that TestFairy comes on the infrastructure layer as a tool that helps you make your testing more meaningful. We know companies who use TestFairy for internal testing with their QA or external testing with the real customers that are in beta process or company employees in the dog food. It's a technology that you can use that will empower your testing wherever you do it.
And I think also if people are using crowdsourcing tools to do beta testing, but do not have a thing, for example, like TestFairy embedded, then it will be a little bit harder also for the people that are helping with the testing to provide those bugs. So I still also think that if you're using crowdsourcing, add TestFairy, for example, to your application, which will make it easier also for the people who are going to test your application. It will be easier to find the bugs, and you might get 10 instead of 2 bugs because it was that easy. And don't be scared of all the information. Just make sure that you can filter it out, all the information.
Great. We had 2 last questions here. One of them I'm just going to reference. Someone was asking if TestFairy could be used as a cloud platform with third-party automation tools. This came in, Yair, after you or before you showed the slide with all the information about the integration. So I think we certainly spoke to that, and the answer is yes, very much so.
We would love to work with any company that works with any cloud vendor. We have integrations with anything you'll use, and it will work out of the box.
Fantastic. Let's wrap up with one question that just dropped in, looking ahead to the future technologies. Does TestFairy support VR apps? Where are we with virtual reality?
All I can say is that this request came recently from various very interesting customers, and we're looking into it seriously. That's my best answer for this moment. Stay tuned.
Fantastic. Well, you heard it here first, and that does put us at the top of the hour. So I just want to say thank you to Yair and to Wim for their presentation today. Again, thank you so much to our audience for participating, for tuning in, for their questions. A couple quick notes before we close out. When you do exit the webinar, you'll see a brief survey. If you could please provide your feedback, we always love to hear from you. We will also be following up again with the recording and the slides from today's session. And we will absolutely be reaching out to our winners for the backpack giveaway, as well as those of you who submitted your information for the t-shirts. Again, thank you. We're happy to share some sauce goodies with all of you, so stay tuned for that. On behalf of Sauce Labs, on behalf of our presenters, thank you everyone for tuning in.